Hello, everyone. I've got a brand new Sundance 2019 interview for you. I am sitting here with the filmmakers behind the movie Before You Know It, and we are really lucky to be here with them. Thanks to Kia Telluride. Thank you so mumuch to our wonderful sponsor for making these interviews happen, because really excited to talk about your movie. Last night at the premiere, you could just feel the energy, and it was a major crowd pleaser. It's funny, it's heartwarming, and I really love the balance between the two, so a huge congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
The first thing I wanted to ask, and I assume I can give this duty to one of you, a brief synopsis for anybody out there who does not know what Before You Know It is about.
Take it away.
You can do it at the same time if you want.
Okay. It's about
two codependent sisters
who still
live in
together
their childhood home.
Yep, above the family theater that they own and operate with their playwright father, Jackie's 13-year-old daughter, and they find out that their mother they thought was dead is in fact alive and starring on a soap opera.
Which happens to happen after the death of their father.
Yeah, are we saying that now?
A lot going on.
Oh, I guess that's out there.
Never mind.
It's the inciting
die.
incident.
Yeah, it's true. It is. And so it's really about the two of them navigating their relationship in the face of this complete paradigm shift within their family structure. And growing up, it's a whole family coming of age.
And what was it that inspired the story?
We've both been really drawn to the theme of how our respective family dynamics inform our identity, and sometimes the difficult process of having to untether yourself from that family dynamic in certain regards in order to maintain that sense of identity. And we both had pretty diametrically opposite upbringings, but found that the middle of our Venn diagram for what we find funny was the pain that happened to those families that we love very much.
Right.
Yes.
And the initial idea of sisters who find out their mother's alive and on TV was from beginning of our friendship. First thing we wrote, it was Jen's idea, and then over the years, as we evolved as artists and as people and realized what we wanted to say, the challenge became marrying that larger-than-life sort of farcical or soap-like premise with what we were actually experiencing in our lives, and what it would actually mean to find out that a parent you thought was dead was alive, to realize that the other parent had been lying to you, and so on and so forth.
I will let you guys speak to this eventually, but Mike and Judith, I think it's really important when we find two people who collaborate and have such a fruitful collaboration together to be able to celebrate that. So I was curious, from your perspective, what was it like working with these two wonderful ladies here?
I'll start. It's really a very special experience. But you know, when you say something like that, it's like sounds so generic. This is very, very specific. I worked with them at the labs at Sundance. It's coming up 2 years this June. And their dynamic interpersonally, as you can see how connected they are, really moved the needle in terms of the character that they were asking me to play. The script that was sent to me originally was already wonderful. So in working with them, what ended up happening was there was a kind of depth and a connection, and one of the things that Jen talks about is this curiosity that we all had about each other, and we all started sharing with each other about our growing up and our lives together. So there was another dynamic that was coming into play that was creating something even deeper and more fruitful, and a kind of emotional depth that they're talking about. So that was fantastic. Sundance was amazing in terms of their support of us. And also, when you have that kind of a dynamic, something else begins to happen, and you see it on the screen, and you can feel it on the screen. So it's not a question of what you think about a film, it's a question of what you feel about a film. And this is at a real feeling level. And something, we were in a car riding over here, and Jen said, it's about growing up and waking up.
It's true. As someone who had to grow up and wake up in New York City, living with my sister, it really spoke to me.
This movie
Obviously
is for you.
not the same exact situation, but you feel that kind of chemistry and that relationship radiate off screen, which I think it could make it something that anybody can connect to. Mike, what was it that drew you to your character?
Was a piggyback of what Judith said about, talking about the epiphany of having someone lead a certain life, having these adults who are damaged kids, essentially, having to deal with these things, and we're thrust into their world, and you start to learn little by little how damaged they are and why they're damaged. And I think the great thing about this project is that they find humor in it, because you have to find humor in everything. Otherwise, you can't make it. You can't tolerate this pain and this anguish. And so I think the way the characters deal with it, it's funny, but it's also very endearing and very genuine. When I saw the project and I read it, I felt like I jumped onto a moving train. These guys did all the development here at Sundance, and I was familiar with the Institute and how they develop projects. So when I found out that this is one of these projects, I was happy because I knew that the work was kind of already done, and that I was literally stepping into something that was kind of a ready-made baked cake. I mean, really, I came in, I was like, sure, I can. I would love to be a part of it. It's just
he's being humble. We learned a lot about his character from him.
Well, it's honestly, these guys, when I came on and I looked at the way they worked, this is your first feature full-length film, but when you do shorts and you do other things, you're learning, and everybody knows it's all about moment to moment. It's all about pieces. If you can do one thing, you can do the other. So when I got on set, I realized, that she had picked the right crew. She picked the people that she wanted to work with. Everybody was like really interesting people, even behind the camera. And so every day felt like, she was certain of what she wanted, and there was not a lot of stress. And it felt really good to be a part of this. So I was happy to join on.
I ask this often, and what you just said reminded me of this particular question. If you had to name an unsung hero of this movie, because we all know you, but from the crew, just someone out there who might not get a shout out that really deserves it.
Can I have two?
You can have as many as you want.
Johnny, whose last name I'm forgetting.
Johnny on the spot?
Johnny was our on-set dresser, and he spent the entire shoot running and sweating. He did the work of what should have been 10 people's jobs. And then she's not totally unsung because I try to credit her whenever I can, but Lauren Taylor, our location manager, I think location managers don't get enough credit because that's casting.
It is.
It's such a huge part of building out the movie. Yeah, and I couldn't be happier with the location she found us. And Christy Lutt's our line producer, who managed to make it work with our budget and she never made me feel like I was going to have to compromise because of money. That was not my business. I'm sure she had those conversations with my producers, but I didn't have to worry about it.
That is a super important piece of freedom to be able to have while you're creating something. And speaking of the location manager, obviously, I told you guys I'm from New York, and I love how lived in this movie makes New York feel, but I also got these terrible flashbacks to when I tried to shoot shorts in New York, and there's a million rules and permits and police, and you can't put the sticks on the ground. So I'm just curious, what was your experience like working so much on the streets of New York?
What permits?
Yeah. We had permits.
I've asked that same thing to myself before.
Again, my producers, Mallory Schwartz and Josh Hetzler, did such an incredible job of protecting all of us from the stress of production, from the stress of things outside of our control. But there were also just happy accidents having to do with the restrictions. That opening scene, I had planned on shooting coverage. I'm not insane, I'm not a egomaniac. I know that coverage helps, but we had this whole plan. We'd rearranged the schedule to make it work. We had brought on extra crew. We had a condor at the end of the street lighting the whole street, and people called the police to complain because the light was so bright. So we had to flag the light, which screwed up all of the lighting. We had to relight. Anyway, we wound up having half an hour to shoot that entire first scene, the opening scene of the movie. Should I share this? And just pretty quickly, I was like, it's gonna be a winner. We're gonna nail it. It's gonna be okay. We're all just going to stick the landing, and I know we want it, and I know we can, and everyone kind of held their breath and made it happen.
The happy magic of high-pressure situations.
Yeah, and that was because of New York sucking a little bit, and I love New York, sorry.
Also, I think, and I want to hop on just to say, because she's not going to say this about herself, there was such an efficiency of communication between Hannah and our producers and all the department heads that even when things, I actually wasn't in that scene, but I was sitting on monitor, stress eating Cheez-Its, just how is this going to go down? And the cops are there, and it sounds simple, but honestly, maintaining a spirit of calm and kindness, even in the face of what felt like might be a bit of a battle, there's a trickle-down effect there, and that really informed the rest of the shoot, and I think ultimately informed the performances too.
I assume you guys would agree with that. The vibe on set just seems like it's really strong. And I actually want to take a moment to give a shout out to your younger co-stars here, because they're both fantastic, but I was very surprised that I walked away from the movie thinking Olivia might be my favorite character. There was something
so
about
cool.
her and how she treats the situation and people around her. I feel like you don't see the purity of kindness in a young character like that too often, and that really touched me.
We didn't.
She's always been our favorite.
She's always been our favorite too.
I mean, Olivia's been around like from the beginning, and through every draft, we're just like, oh, Olivia's so cool.
At this point, she's actually like 34.
She's at the bar.
But
Before you know it, like,
Hannah's,
I saw her at the bar last night.
She's at the bar.
her parents are like, what? Hannah's, and I have to give her one more little brag. She's great at writing kids. It's not an easy thing to do, and when we would put our heads together for those younger characters especially, I definitely was following her lead, because I think it's a really easy habit to fall into, wanting to write, paint with one color with somebody that's that young, but
Or cute.
Yeah, and these are real people. I was in a lot of pain when I was 13, and I think you did a great job making sure that they were human.
I grew up with really amazing young women. Like I see so many movies about like bad friendships and like young women treating each other badly, and that just wasn't my experience growing up. I felt really supported by my friends, and I felt that they were emotionally generous, and so we wanted Olivia to capture that version of being a preteen.
Definite success there, because I wanted to be best friends with her when I walked out of the movie. Judith, for your character here, I was wondering about tapping into almost the satirical nature of a soap opera, but also making it still feel grounded, like it's in line with the rest of the movie too. And I think, again, you achieved that quite well. So can you tell me a little bit about finding that balance?
Thank you. It came from our time at the lab. Was no question about that. And like I said before, the script came in pretty much full form. It's like sort of what Mike was saying. It was already there. They knew what the challenges were going to be, and we talked a lot about that very fine line, that balance, teetering on that balance of not making it a caricature. Because I had done a soap for 5 years, and we talked a lot about that and what that actually is, so that there's this frailty, this vulnerability, this painful sort of life and guilt, and about a choice that she made so far back, and is trying to fix that now in some way, and is not terribly successful. And what does it mean to make a choice to leave your children for yourself? It's a very, we in our culture we call that a very selfish thing to do. And she was looking for herself. So we were looking for the balance of what makes someone tick underneath. What is their psychology that's running them, so that that can come to the fore. So that's kind of how we all worked on it together. And
I feel like you also really tapped into the age that she stopped developing. You kind of tapped into the age of her greatest trauma, and I think there's some humor in that when you see an adult who's stuck
at that level. We actually, that's right. We actually,
all the time, right?
we talked, yes, we talked, yeah, and that was one of the things that we actually talked about. You just reminded me of that. Right.
And I have to wrap up, sadly, because I have a million more questions for you. I'm also really fascinated by the whole Sundance Lab process, and I'm thankful we have something like that. But to close this out, for each of you, you're all playing characters that need to grow and change, and they do accomplish that over the course of the movie. But what is one piece of your character that if you could take with you for yourself, what would it be and why?
I think Jackie's the most hopeful person I've never met. I think that I'm definitely a bit surlier, and I think the thing in her that I tried to remember when I felt like I wanted to judge her, because she's an intense person, is that she is on an Olympic course to maintain a sense of hope at all times, and I think that that's something that we could use some of right now.
Totally agree.
No question. No, go ahead.
For me, it would be learning that the immediate discomfort of being honest is far less painful than the long-term effect of stifling your needs.
How about for you, Mike?
Yeah, I think Charles is probably much more organized than I. I think he'd come in. I would never be called in to do anyone's anything, books, anything. Math makes me cringe, and I just don't have the patience. It's tedious to me. So I applaud people who do it, and I wish I had that part of my brain, but I don't. So
you're not alone with that.
Not my thing.
Great. For me, I would say that what Hannah said, I would concur about that. It's that telling the truth early on is much easier than the long-term pain. It's like, quick now, clean under the sofa. You have a lot to learn. And also to forgive myself for the things that I have called mistakes in the past. There's never a problem, and there's never an issue, and anything can be fixed. And we can, if you think you've done something terrible, you can pick up the phone and call somebody.
I'm going to pocket that one for myself. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Again, really charming, fun experience, and a great thing to be able to experience with a packed house at Sundance. Thank you guys so much for watching this interview. Keep an eye out for Before You Know It. Thanks again to Kia Telluride. We will see you soon with more coverage from Sundance 2019.